First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you very much for joining us. We are live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. This is something that we do every weekday starting at 1, and we cover a wide range of topics. And right now, we are talking about earthquakes. So last night, which was Thursday, September 25th, at about 11:45 p.m., thereabouts, there was a 5.9 magnitude earthquake off of the coast of Oregon. Now, this was 100 plus miles out into the ocean, kind of west of Bandon, Oregon. And this occurred last night. Then there was no, I just want to clarify here in case anybody's wondering, there was no tsunami, there was nothing like that, or danger really to people on shore, but that's still a sizable earthquake. So we wanted to talk about this and find out a little bit more about what's going on out there and what that could mean. And to do so, we are joined now by Renate Hartog from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. And so great to have you here with us today to talk about this. And you know, it's always fascinating to find out more about this very seismically active area that we live in. And this is one last night, 5.9 kind of got the attention of some people. So I just wanted to start off by asking you, could you walk us through what it is that happened?
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you. My name is Renate, and what happened is that there was a earthquake on the what's called the Blanco fracture zone. Maybe not exactly where on there is always a little bit of a question because it's difficult to locate earthquakes offshore very well. But the Blanco fracture zone is well known to generate earthquakes of this magnitude. It frequently does. And what is a fracture zone? It's kind of it's a zone in the oceanic plate. A lot of people might not be familiar with the plate tectonics, but there are tectonic plates, the outer shell of the Earth that move past each other. And the Blanco fracture zone is one of the fracture zones in one of these plates. And it kind of links up to so-called spreading ridges.
I want to show here just a little bit as well to give people that reference. I'm just switching my camera shot here. So of where this was. So, we've got Medford here, Salem here, Bandon, somewhere around there, Coos Bay, and this is out into the ocean. So this is that fracture zone that you're talking about. And so when you see this, this far out into the ocean, does this have any kind of connection with the Cascadia subduction zone or anything that would, cause somebody to maybe have a little bit of concern about the big one?
No, not directly. No. These happen very frequently. These, moderate-sized, moderate to large earthquakes on the Blanco fracture zone happen frequently. And they so far have not triggered anything on the subduction zone, right? So, in especially this kind of magnitude, its sphere of influence isn't large enough to directly affect that significantly. Of course, the subduction zone is sort of related, as in it's the same plate that where you see that earthquake plotted. That's the one, the Fuca plate. That is the plate that's subducting beneath North America. So it's in the same tectonic setting, but it's not the same kind of mechanism of faulting.
Gotcha. So same area, but this isn't related to that one, should that one occur?
No, it would have to be much closer to the shore. You can kind of see there. So that where those what you're showing there, so the black lines you see there are all like approximate locations of fault or plate boundaries. Mm-hmm. And then you can see these other lines drawn there are all known mapped fault areas. So that's more the deformation zone to the closer to shore. That's where the subduction zone is. So that's much closer to the shore than these Blanco fracture.
So this one, being that far out, not as much of a concern and wouldn't really have an effect on anything that's happening over here.
Yeah, correct.
That's great. I love having the visual of it as well for everybody to kind of understand that a little bit more too. That is a long ways apart from each other. Looking at this kind of an earthquake, and I want to ask you this: does it seem to have there been more frequent earthquakes as of late out in this area of the ocean, of the Pacific, or is this kind of par for the course?
Yes and yes. There was a swarm, like we sometimes call them a swarm, if there's a cluster of earthquakes that have similar magnitudes, and it's not very clear where there's one really big one and then smaller ones, right? There was one at the beginning of this month. There was a cluster of these types of earthquakes towards the what is that, southwest of where this one was. And that's in not quite in the Blanco fracture zone, but that's more in what's called the Gorda plate. Like it's just that southwestern part of plate that's a little bit more broken up. So that was an interesting swarm of earthquakes. And then this one is more typical. This 5.9 that happened last night. It's more of a typical type Blanco fracture zone earthquake.
So 5.9 wasn't alarming at all as far as that size of an earthquake.
No, it's happened. It happens regularly in that region. Yeah.
And this isn't, to clarify too, for anybody on shore. Is these earthquakes out there, do they pose any kind of a threat to anybody on shore, or even if somebody was, say, out in a vessel on the ocean?
I don't think so. No, so definitely not on shore at this magnitude. Even magnitude 7s could possibly happen there, but I don't know if that would have a significant impact on shore because it's so far away, right? And the mechanism of what actually happens during this kind of Blanco transform fault earthquake is most likely that actually two sides of the fault are moving past each other kind of in a horizontal plane like this. And because of that, there's not a tsunami or anything like that associated with it either.
Gotcha. So it's not one dipping below the other one. They're basically rubbing side to side.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you get tsunamis if you have a significant uplift or down. If the ocean floor changes shape significantly, then you can get a tsunami, but you don't get that with this side-by-side sliding.
So this 5.9 is fairly regular for out there. With the earthquakes that happened earlier this month and this one right now, do you anticipate more of these, if that's possible, throughout the end of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you browse around a little bit more on the earthquake pages from the U.S. Geological Survey, you will also find something called an aftershock forecast. So this was a 5.9 and like 45 minutes after or so, I might have the timing wrong a little bit. There was a magnitude 3 aftershock, and it wouldn't be surprising at all if there were some more earthquakes right after, still trickling in through today. And then also this area in the past has had what we call these swarm-like behaviors, where there's actually just a whole cluster of earthquakes of similar sizes that happen over a brief in relatively brief amount of time.
Would this one have anything to do with that swarm from earlier this month, or is it completely separate?
I would. It's hard to say.
Right.
That would if somebody wants to make that link, they would have to do some significant amount of analysis and modeling of stress transfers, etc. But because my guess is not, because it's all, and it's of course. There's that saying, like, once you hear of something, you see it everywhere. There's a word for it that I'm not remembering.
Yeah,
but
no, I know what you mean.
In this region happen very, very frequently. So,
yeah.
But the one that happened at the beginning of this month, that cluster was a little bit more unusual.
Gotcha. So for going forward, what would stand out to you as something unusual if it were to occur?
On offshore Washington or Oregon, it would be if there was a significant earthquake, like a 7, like closer to that subduction zone.
Closer to the subduction zone, if there were a 7 there, that would be something that would be concerning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, there's scientists that are very interested in these strike-slip, these Blanco fracture zone earthquakes as well, right? It has bearing on how the oceanic plates behave, and it might impact the ocean bottom life, etc. It's just not a big hazard for people living on shore.
Gotcha. If you're down there at the bottom of the ocean and you're a crab down there, that might be
exactly
might be disruptive. And well, looking at it from the scientific side of things, are things like this really valuable for you for just studying what occurs during these kinds of earthquakes?
For some people, yes. I personally am not. I have not really studied mid-oceanic bridges and fracture zones much. My work has always been a little bit more focused on the land structures beneath the land that are directly related to hazards to the population.
Gotcha. And just to
There are
clarify,
definitely people interested.
yeah, I'm sure there's valuable data for any kind of thing like this, even if they do. I mean, I would think so anyway. So just to clarify, yeah, so no danger to anybody on shore. This earthquake isn't that. It sounds like this is pretty par for the course, and there could be some aftershocks coming, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All
And
right,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's another magnitude 5 or maybe even a 6. But it's just because it's such an active area.
Yeah, but not a threat to humans on shore.
Correct.
All right, well, anything else that you think is important for people to know, Renate?
No, not really. No.
Okay,
I
good.
I feel like you asked great questions, and it was, yeah. We would pay more. There was a magnitude 7 in Mendocino, which is off the coast of Northern California, not too long ago, maybe in December last year. That one was a little bit, it's a little closer to where the subduction zone really starts, and plus it was closer to land, and so actually that one did cause significant shaking on land. So when that happens, we pay a little bit more closer attention because we're in the hazard, earthquake hazard.
Yeah, it could be a hazard if it's closer like that. Interesting. Well, I really appreciate your time, and also you showed me a few things on this map that I was looking at too. I'm pointing over here to my side because that's where the map is. But some great, valuable data there from Pacific Northwest Seismic Network and then USGS as well. For people who want to get into this, and want to really go in and take a look at where all these are occurring, there's a lot of valuable free information out there that people can go
Absolutely.
to
Yep.
and access, which is really incredible. And that's, thanks to all of your hard work up there. So thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate your time and being here with us to talk through this and just getting out, it's great to just hear from the scientist and have you tell us, what's going on there.
Right.
So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
And for everybody watching, this is Fox 12 Now. We are live streaming here, so I appreciate everybody who joins us, wherever you're finding us. But I do recommend that the streaming app on whatever device you're on, whether that's a Fire TV, whether you're on Apple TV, whether you're on Roku. There's a Fox 12 Oregon streaming app on there. That is a great way to watch. There's even some exclusive content on those. So definitely recommend that for watching this show live or after the fact. But we have plenty more coming up here throughout the afternoon. We've got the Fox 12 Weather Podcast video edition. So if you like weather, you're going to get all the weather you can handle. That's coming up here. No, it's great actually hearing meteorologists talk about all of this. So that's coming up and plenty more things throughout the afternoon. If there's breaking news between now and 4 p.m., I will be here for you for that as well. But we'll take a quick break. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.